Tommy lived in a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by simple houses and small streets. His parents worked hard, but they always struggled to keep everything in order. They had no wealth or possessions, but what they lacked in material goods they made up for in love and dedication. Their life was marked by a constant rhythm of work, sacrifice, and hope. From an early age, Tommy learned to value what he had. His mother used to tell him, "Wealth is in the heart, Tommy, not in the things we own," and he believed it. He knew that despite the financial difficulties, his family was united, and that was the most important thing. Each day seemed like a struggle to keep the house running, but they faced it all with courage. The food on the table was simple, but prepared with love, and even if they didn't have much, there was always room for a smile and a word of encouragement. Tommy was a dreamer. He believed that with hard work and faith, he could achieve anything he wanted. For him, difficulties were not a permanent obstacle, but something to be overcome with patience and determination. While other boys his age dreamed of expensive toys or designer clothes, Tommy dreamed of improving his family's life, of being someone who could make a difference without ever losing the essence of simplicity and honesty. His vision of life was clear and pure, with no rush to achieve wealth, but with a deep desire to build something lasting and true. It was a sunny afternoon when Tommy decided to go for a walk through the city streets. He loved quiet walks, where he could observe people and reflect on the future. As he passed by one of the busiest streets, something caught his attention. A shiny, luxurious-looking car was parked on the sidewalk. The vehicle looked like a reflection of the sun, drawing the attention of everyone around. Tommy had never seen a car like that. Its shine and sophisticated design were completely different from anything he was used to. The boy, with his curious and somewhat shy look, approached without knowing what to expect. He stood there, just watching, with his jaw slightly dropped, not daring to get any closer. The driver, who was inside the car, seemed to notice Tommy's attentive gaze. He smiled, as if he recognized the boy's curiosity. He was an elegant man, with expensive clothes and an air of someone accustomed to luxury and comfort. The man calmly got out of the car, approached Tommy, and, with a friendly smile, greeted him. "Hello, young man," the man said, looking Tommy in the eyes with a kind expression. "Do you need any help?" Tommy, surprised and a little uncomfortable, shook his head quickly, signaling that he didn't need anything. He didn't want to admit that his life was harder than it seemed, and that he might need help. The man, however, didn't seem to care about the answer and continued to observe him with a curious expression. He seemed to want to understand more about that simple boy who was there, alone, unhurried, just observing the world around him. The man, whose name was Charles, seemed to have a calm and confident way of dealing with people. He wasn't there to judge Tommy, but only to offer help. He knew that, with the power of money, he could change anyone's life. And at that moment, he felt that Tommy might be someone who needed his help. After a moment of silence, Charles looked at the boy and said with a smile, "I can help you. I have some money here, and I know it can make a difference in your life. You can use it to study, buy what you need, or even help your family. What do you think?" Tommy looked at the man with wide eyes. Never in his life had he imagined that someone as rich and elegant as that gentleman would offer him money so generously. The proposal seemed tempting. He could finally make some of his dreams come true, improve his life and that of his family. However, there was something inside Tommy that made him hesitate. The boy, with a serious expression, looked at the floor for a moment, thinking. It wasn't that he didn't need help. Of course, his life was difficult, and a sum of money could solve many problems. But even so, he felt that there was something more important, something that could not be bought. With a sigh, Tommy looked back at Charles and, with surprising calm for his age, replied, "I appreciate it, sir, but I can't accept your money. I believe I can earn my way through hard work and effort. That, to me, is more important than any amount of money." Charles was surprised. Never in his entire life had anyone refused such a generous offer. He didn't know what to think. People were usually thrilled to receive something so valuable. But the boy, with his sincerity, had refused everything so bluntly. Simple and honest. Charles remained silent, watching Tommy, as if trying to understand what was behind that attitude. Charles was perplexed. He didn't know what to say. He looked at the boy, trying to understand the reason for such a refusal. It was unusual for someone, especially someone so young, to reject such a generous offer. However, there was something in Tommy that made him believe that it wasn't just pride or a lack of gratitude. There was true conviction, something that he himself, as an adult, had perhaps lost over the years. Looking more closely, Charles tried to understand what Tommy meant by his simple words. He moved even closer to the boy and, in a gentle tone, asked, "You're right, boy. But tell me, why not accept the help? With that money, you could improve your life a lot, have a better house, study at a good school. What do you think about that?" Tommy looked Charles in the eyes, and his answer was calm but full of wisdom. "I don't need all that to be happy," he said, with a shy smile. "What I need is to fight for my own dreams. With what I have, money can make many things easier, but it is not what will make me feel fulfilled. Happiness, for me, is found in the simple things in life, in honesty and hard work. I do not want to take the easy path, but rather to build something real." Charles, for a moment, was silent, absorbing the boy's words. He did not fully understand what Tommy meant, but something in the boy's gaze touched him. It was as if that simple gesture of refusal had awakened something inside him, something he did not know was lost. The boy seemed to understand life in a way that he himself, with all his wealth, had not yet managed to understand. With a sigh, Charles stepped back a little, reflecting on Tommy's words. What was he looking for, after all, when he offered money? Maybe it was more than just a desire to help. Maybe it was a search, conscious or not, for something that was missing in his own life. Charles was confused, but something in his heart began to change. He was a man who had always believed that money was the key to solving everything. To him, wealth had the power to transform any situation, to buy comfort, security, and even happiness. But Tommy's words left him with a strange feeling, as if he had forgotten something important in the midst of his relentless pursuit of more. He looked at the boy once more, trying to understand his decision. What could make a boy, so young, turn down a chance to improve his life? He could give Tommy anything he wanted, comfort, an education, a home. But the boy didn't seem to be interested in that. On the contrary, Tommy seemed to understand something that Charles couldn't fully comprehend, that true happiness didn't come from material things. With a sigh, Charles tried again, as if searching for the key to understanding Tommy's behavior. "I understand what you're saying," he began, a slight hesitation in his voice. "But life isn't all about effort, kid. The opportunity to change your reality is here, right in front of you. You can have everything you've ever dreamed of. Tommy looked at him, his shy smile remaining on his face. He didn't seem bothered by the man's insistence, but there was an inner peace about him that was remarkable. He was sure of his beliefs, that the important things in life couldn't be bought. "I'm not saying I don't want to improve," Tommy replied sincerely. "I just believe that the most valuable things don't come from money. I want to build my life with work and with what I really need, not with what's given to me for free." Charles, though he didn't fully understand, felt a pang of admiration for this boy. It was as if Tommy had something that he, with all his success, had long since lost: a clear sense of purpose. Something so simple, yet so powerful. Charles stood still for a moment, reflecting on what Tommy had just said. Those words reverberated in his mind, like a soft but piercing echo. He couldn't fully understand why he refused, but something deep inside him, something very deep, was beginning to change. He looked at the boy with a mixture of admiration and confusion. How could such a young child be so clear about what really mattered in life? Charles was used to solving problems with the power of money. When he wanted something, he simply bought it. When someone needed something, he provided it. To him, life seemed to be a constant exchange of money for solutions. But what Tommy was saying challenged that view. The boy seemed to understand that true happiness came not from things that could be bought, but from things that could be had. They couldn't. Charles walked away slowly, still thinking. He got back into his car, but he couldn't get the image of Tommy out of his head. The boy had rejected an offer that Charles believed would be the solution to every problem. And now he felt perplexed. What had he really accomplished in life? What did he have besides his enormous wealth and his reputation for success? As he drove through the city streets, Charles began to question himself. Was he living the right way? He had achieved everything that many people desire: money, status, power, but somehow it didn't fulfill him completely. There was something empty inside him, something he couldn't define but felt deeply. Tommy's simple refusal made him think. Maybe happiness wasn't in the things he had, but in something he had lost sight of: an authentic, purposeful life built on the little things. For the next few days, Charles couldn't stop thinking about Tommy. The image of the boy, with his sincere eyes and his quiet refusal, lingered in his mind. Charles felt that something inside him had changed, but he didn't know exactly what to do with that feeling. He knew he needed to understand more about Tommy, to find out what motivated him, what had made that boy so different. Maybe, somehow, he could learn something from him. So, after several days of reflection, Charles decided to return to the city where he had met Tommy. He knew that finding the boy again wouldn't be easy, but he felt that he needed that answer, that understanding. The idea that a simple conversation with Tommy could change his outlook on life was something he couldn't ignore. He walked through the streets of the city, feeling the weight of his decision. At every corner, every street he passed, Charles wondered if he was making the right choice. He had everything anyone could want, but at that moment he felt that it wasn't enough. The emptiness was still there. Finally, as he passed through the central square, Charles spotted Tommy. The boy was there, playing with other children, a genuine smile on his face, completely at ease. The boy seemed so far removed from the material world, so immersed in the simple things of life, that it was impossible not to feel touched. Charles approached slowly, his heart pounding, not knowing exactly what to say. Tommy saw him before he could even speak. He stopped playing and looked at Charles with a curious but welcoming look. It was as if he knew, somehow, that the man would return, but this time not to offer money, but for something much deeper. "You're back, aren't you?" Tommy said with a calm smile. "But I can't accept what you offer. Not yet." Charles was surprised by Tommy's answer. How could a child so young speak so clearly, with so much understanding? There was a depth to his words that made Charles feel uncomfortable, as if he were faced with something he didn't fully understand. However, he also felt great respect for the boy, as if something very important was about to be revealed. Not knowing what to say, Charles sat down next to Tommy. They sat in silence for a few minutes, just watching the other children playing around them. To Charles, that silence seemed rare. He was used to quick meetings, to conversations about business and strategy. But here, with Tommy, the silence felt comfortable, as if there was something more important to be said, something that didn't need words. When Tommy began to speak, his voice soft and calm, Charles listened intently, barely breathing. "I know you came back to offer me something, but I can't accept it yet," Tommy said calmly. "It's not that I don't need help, but I believe that the most important thing in life is not what you can have, but what you do with what you have. I live with what my family has, and that's enough for me. What really matters are the little things. The time we spend with the ones we love, the acts of kindness, the joy of working for something." Charles was completely immersed in the boy's words. Each sentence seemed like a direct challenge to the life he led, to the way he saw the world. As Tommy spoke, Charles felt a strange sense of discomfort, but also of clarity. He had never stopped to reflect on these simple things, these little riches in life. Tommy went on, talking about his dreams, but in a way Charles had never heard before. They weren't dreams of fame or wealth. The boy wanted to help others, to make a difference in the community, to learn and grow. And most importantly, he wanted to do all of this with honesty and respect, without losing the purity of his values. Charles listened, and something inside him began to change. Tommy's words were breaking down the barriers he had built over the years. Those barriers made of gold, power, and status. Charles was silent for a while after Tommy finished speaking. The boy's words resonated in his mind like a truth he had never considered. The millionaire looked at him with a sense of wonder and discomfort at the same time. He had always believed that happiness came from material achievements, from closed contracts, successful investments, and a life full of possessions and status. But now, standing in front of Tommy, he began to question everything he knew about what really mattered. What was more valuable? Money, which he believed was the key to happiness, or the simple things in life like connecting with others, spending time with family, and honest work? Charles's life, full of success, seemed empty next to Tommy's simple life, which was full of meaning and purpose. As the boy spoke with such ease and sincerity that was astonishing, Charles felt as if he were in a mirror, reflecting back on his own life. He realized that even though he had achieved everything many people craved, wealth, power, respect, he still felt empty inside. What had he really achieved besides more material possessions? What did he really have? Charles looked at the boy again, trying to understand what made him so different. The boy seemed to have something that he, with all his resources, could not find: an inner peace, a clear vision of life that fulfilled him. a genuine gratitude for the small and simple things. For a moment, Charles felt an urgent need to change his own life, to seek something deeper. He knew it would not be easy. He had spent many years chasing wealth, building an empire, but now, standing before Tommy, he wondered if he had lost what really mattered. And that was when, for the first time in a long time, Charles felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He knew his journey was about to change, not because of money or success, but because of something deeper, something he was finally beginning to understand. After that day, Charles began to see the world differently. He no longer saw money as the answer to everything, nor material success as the end of his journey. Something inside him had changed, a silent but powerful transformation that was reflected in small actions, in simple but deeply meaningful gestures. He began to ask himself questions he had never asked himself before. What really matters in life? Am I living according to the values I truly believe in? He began to dedicate more time to his family, to listen more than he spoke, to invest in causes that made a real difference to people without expecting anything in return. He realized that, instead of constantly seeking more, he should value what he already had and what he could offer to others. Charles knew that the transformation would not be instantaneous, but he was determined to follow this new path. He understood that true happiness did not come from accumulating wealth, but from living a life of purpose, where kindness, honesty, and connection with others were the greatest treasures. As for Tommy, the boy who touched the heart of a millionaire with his simplicity and wisdom, he continued his life with the same humility as always. He followed his dreams, not to become famous or rich, but to help others, to make a difference in his community. Tommy knew that the value of life was in the things that could not be bought, and that by doing good, he was living authentically. And somehow, without knowing it, he had changed the course of a life. The encounter between the boy and the millionaire was not only a moment of generosity, but of learning, where the true meaning of life was revealed. Charles never forgot the boy who refused the money, because it was that simple refusal that showed him the value of the things that really matter. Sometimes the greatest gift is not what we give, but what we learn by giving. And for Charles, the greatest gift was the lesson Tommy taught him about how to live fully and truly.